All right.
Hey, everybody.
Hey there. It's been a while.
I know.
It's been a while, but quick intro here. If you've ever considered fraud in your small business, or maybe you haven't considered fraud in your small business, this live video is for you. We want to talk to you about it. But let's get back to the fact that we have not been on live in a couple weeks.
Yep, been away.
Yeah, we went
Exploring
away.
some opportunities.
Oh, you know what we're doing. Getting ready to make some major changes. And so we just got back with regard to looking at new office locations and things along that nature. And then Becky got sick, so my head was in a toilet, therefore it couldn't be on here. But we're back now, healthy, we're good, we're rocking and rolling. Today the topic is fraud in small businesses, and here's why. For those of you who follow me on my live story, on my stories on Instagram and Facebook, you noticed, I think it was last week, that I posted a couple of pieces on the fact that I am getting a new certification in forensic accounting, okay? And my first class in, I was totally blown away by some of these statistics, and I had shared them with Eric, and I was like, I really think we need to go live about this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? All right, so I'm just gonna read these to you quickly, just so you have an idea, because a lot of times what people think is that I'm a small business. It's not gonna happen to me. I'm not big corporate where I have to worry about it, because I think that's a misconception.
Who's going to steal, or sometimes they're family businesses. My family would never steal from me.
Yeah. And we're not saying that they ever would.
No, but
We're saying a level of professional skepticism is always necessary. Okay, so let me just read this to you. The biggest fraud threat comes from within the existing company. 81% of all fraud includes insiders. 36% of the victims suffer from a member of their own middle or senior management. 45% come from junior employee staffing, and 23% from a third-party intermediary, like somebody outside the company. Those statistics are staggering.
unbelievable.
And what I think is, like I said, the biggest misconception is that most people say it'll never happen to me. I know everything. I pay attention to everything.
They feel their intuition will warn them in the event that somebody is doing something.
Right, it'll guide them. But one of the most critical pieces, now I know I sit here and I am constantly beating it to death that your accounting system is one of the most important systems in your company, because why? Come on, say it. Say it for us.
It's all about the systems?
No.
It's all about the money.
The numbers.
About the money,
That's
the
all
numbers.
you say. It's all about the numbers. All about
Put
the
me
numbers.
off guard, Becky.
Oh my God. You can tell this is not scripted, you guys. So anyway, it's all about the numbers. And that's what the accounting system is for, right? That is everybody's thought processes. I need my P&L, I need my balance sheet, my cash flow, what's my profit? Am I making money? What are my taxes? That's where we're going with that. But it's so much more.
Oh, absolutely. But it's first place to recognize if something is going on.
That's right.
Exorbitant expenses, new contractor or new vendor. If you're just grossly spending more money in any of your expense items, something out of the ordinary based on historical data.
Could be up.
Yeah.
So your accounting system actually is one of the best ways to prevent fraud in your company. And here's why. Because most of the time, first and foremost, people don't have a full-blown accounting and office administrative department, right? We're small businesses. So we might just have an owner and a bookkeeper, or an owner and an office manager, or office person that does everything. They do a little bit of bookkeeping, they do some sales, they do customer service, they book appointments, and they support the CEO or the owner of the company, and then there's the owner of the company, right? So we only have a couple people involved. And so most people just think, I don't need that. I know everything that's happening in my company, and I see it all, and I do it all, and she has to help me do everything else because I don't have anybody. So how could I possibly implement internal controls or an accounting system that can prevent fraud? And you know what? You can. and it's very, very easy to. But that accounting system can go from actually manifesting fraud and embezzlement, right? Because there's no control whatsoever, to minimizing it to an acceptable level where you, the business owner, would recognize a trigger and be like, I wonder, what, something's going on because this happened in the accounting system, or this can't happen in the accounting system, or the bookkeeper brought something to my attention that she no longer can access in the accounting system. Okay, so the accounting system is not just about the numbers. I can't even believe I'm saying that. That almost hurts. Are you okay? Are you gonna be okay?
I'll be all right. I'll make it through.
But just like quick, okay? One example is that if you have just a 1 or 2 person office, okay, you cannot have someone who has access to billing where vendors send you invoices. They approve the invoice. So that same person receives them. That same person approves them. That same person pays them. And that same person signs the check. That is way too much responsibility on one particular individual. They have recording rights. They have authoritative rights. They have a lot of conflicting jobs, if you will. Okay, so in a perfect world, that person would not receive the bill in. That person may actually buy the product. They may call the supplier and say, we need this based on what the owner says. But when the invoice comes in, the owner opens the mail. No one else opens the mail. And if the owner opens the mail, then the owner approves each invoice or seeks out the substantiation for the invoice, approves it for payment.
I think the most important part is the signing of the checks.
Right.
Because generally, if something's going to be paid, number one, you should have the check. The owner definitely should be signing the checks. There shouldn't be signature authority except for the owner or somebody managing the money, the CFO or controller. And then the substantiation behind it as well. So now that everything's behind there, so you have the proof. So
everything matches. And then the last person that signs the check puts it in the envelope with a postage stamp. Now, that's like so old school. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. No one does that. But today, in today's day and age, that person is authorizing that payment to be paid. And if there's only 2 people in the office, that person unfortunately needs to take time during the day to get online and go pay those bills. Okay, because we don't want to give that back to the bookkeeper to do that, because then we have to go back and check to make sure the right vendors were paid, because sometimes we could create a vendor.
Or the right amounts.
Or the correct amounts, exactly right. Because now what's your checkpoint? Because if that just starts to, now what'll happen is this: if you have a great accounting system, which you better, it will import from your bank account, right? So now if that bill got entered and changed, and you don't have that substantiation and you didn't authorize that payment's going to come through to a changed invoice and actually match it. So you don't know, or you'd have a difficult time managing whether or not the correct amount was paid. But if you authorize the amount to be paid and then you simultaneously pay it online, then you're okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's something as simple as that people are not thinking about. They're just like, I don't have time to do that, so I'm just going to give it all to them. But there's no one standing there, watching over that person. And again, I'm not accusing anyone of having manipulative people working for you, but sometimes people experience hardships and they don't want to tell their boss about it. And maybe they borrow, which is of course illegal, but they take some money with the intention of paying it back before anyone knows it's gone. And then usually it's a snowball effect in the other direction.
Sometimes when we deal with the family business, it's the family relative that feels it's justified with the fact that they've needed extra money based on what they do, and they're not compensated enough, and there could be a conflict going on within the family.
Yes.
So a lot of times we'll see where you trust your family the most, and they're the ones that are taking advantage. Especially
because they feel deserving, and there's even less guilt sometimes involved. And it's unfortunate because we've seen it a lot in our day, and we've detected embezzlement and fraud by accident, no less, in clients because of the due diligence that we do on our end when we're going through books and records for clients to help tax plan or clean up, you know, their accounting system or set up their accounting system in a better way. We kind of come across these things, and there was one that we came across where he brought it to Eric's attention, and I'm like, I don't think this is right, and this looks like a fake company. Like, they had a supplier with a specific name, and do you remember that? The bookkeeper had created the same supplier's name with like just a different font or whatever, and they created a bank account with that DBA name on it. So anytime the client actually paid that bill, they were
putting it to an account that was in their name.
And it wasn't that bill. It was like a fictitious bill. And it was so uncomfortable. And it to the tune of, it was several years that had gone on, very de minimis amounts, a couple $100 here, whatever, not anything extravagant, but it turned into about $30,000 over the course of several years. And
it hurt this particular company.
It did hurt this particular company because they were just a mom and pop, small little business. And so it was unfortunate to deliver that news. But nonetheless, your accounting system can minimize the extent of fraud, right? I'm not saying it'll eliminate it, of course not. But by implementing a great accounting system with some internal control procedures, you can feel peace of mind.
Yeah, one thing that I'd like to mention as well is that within the settings, within online banking and within, just to give an example, say QBO, you can adjust settings to minimize and to assign certain aspects to the people.
Oh, so you mean like an admin has access to absolutely everything. Yeah. Okay, so that's your owner or your CEO, right? And even maybe the CFO, but probably not, depending. But then the bookkeeper cannot create a new vendor without approval. The bookkeeper cannot create, I don't know, receive a payment or make a bill pay without certain approvals or whatever. So there's safeguards that can be put in place.
All right. So even at that point, for a lot of business owners, they don't look at that because they're not setting up the QuickBooks or bookkeeping system to begin with. So when somebody else is setting it up and they're like, oh, I'm the admin and I'm running pretty much every single aspect of that software, now that's the issue that we have. So within the setup and limiting responsibilities and authorities, that's another area that you can work in. And
the last point that I will mention is some people will say to us, when we're changing an accounting system and offering these suggestions, that they're afraid that they're going to offend the current bookkeeper. And my answer to that is nope, we got it. So what we're going to do with that is this. We're going to just create new job descriptions. And that way, with it, like I had one person where it was a conflict because the bookkeeper received the bills, posted the bills, paid the bills, signed the check, right? All that. So I was like, nope, it's going to be real easy because that bookkeeper's position or office person's position is only going to be to take the vendor invoices upon receipt of your approval, the owner's approval, and key them in and generate an unpaid bills detail. Then she's allowed to go in to flag it for payment, but only the owner can authorize the send out of the payment. So there's no need for check signing. There's no need. So we eliminate that. And we take that angst out of it just because we redirect job descriptions to more categorize everything that particular person is responsible for. And basically, owners blame it on us. They're like, well, we're working with an accounting team and they're setting up our new accounting system and this is the way it has to be. And then it just goes away. It's like nothing. No one gets upset. There's no disgruntled employees usually. I mean, very rarely have we had that happen where we weren't able to satisfy that and calm the situation down. So your accounting system is all about the numbers. Oh my God, it is. So don't get nervous. I'm not taking that away from you. But in my new course and my new studies, it's all about fraud, protection of fraud and embezzlement. And CYA, kids, CYA as small business owners, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Especially family business owners.
I know. You might think we'd be talking about our own experiences.
We've seen it a lot.
Because we're both from family businesses. But anyway, I digress. All right, so I hope you're having a great day. I hope this served you in some way, shape, or form. And if you kind of think like, maybe I should figure that out, or maybe I should talk about this with them. Go to talkwithbecky.com. We're here to help, complimentary to talk to us and ask us any questions that you might have about your existing accounting system with regard to the numbers or with regard to maybe embezzlement or fraud or something you're concerned about, how to protect yourself. We're here to help.
Absolutely.
All right. Talk soon. We promise we won't make it this long next time till we go live again. Have a great day.
Have a good one.